I'm Henri Tiphagne from India. I defend rights because as young as I was, I found my mother engaged in defending rights of her leprosy patients. She was from France and I was adopted. I grew up, I went to the student movement where the student movement that I belonged to at the time of the emergency in India, we saw what rights violations were, and that was a historical moment for us to take a decision on which side we would be, on the side of the state that causes these rights violations or on the side of those who suffered from violations. It is from there in the early 70s that I moved on to my engagement in what we then called civil liberties, which has later moved into the larger human rights movement that we speak of today. But in this movement, my starting days were with the People's Union for Civil Liberties. And while I was working with the civil liberties, I learnt my rights regime on the streets of the city of Madurai, where I saw violations and I responded to violations as an activist of the People's Union for Civil Liberties. It was this movement which later became responsible for me to realize that a voluntary part-time engagement in human rights was not going to be effective. And that coincided with the Second World Conference on Human Rights in Vienna in 1993, which led ultimately to me forming what I call today the People's Watch, which was a collective endeavor of a number of us. But these are from lessons drawn from largely the Latin American countries whom I met and learned from in the corridors of the Vienna Conference in Vienna in 1993. Um, Defending other people's rights has a lot of weight that you have to carry on your shoulders. A lot which happens within your own personal self because of the traumatic experiences of others that you internalize within yourself. And therefore, while working in the field of protecting rights, your family becomes your greatest support. Your wife and your children are the greatest supporters of the movement that you first have, because they support you and they stabilize you. They mentally give you strength. They provide you the physical atmosphere to be well prepared for defending other people's rights. But therefore, the most difficult challenges are to be able to give hope in the minds of those victims or survivors whose life we want to intervene in. And that is very difficult. I can't do that only as a lawyer, only because I know law, and only because I'm imposing myself on them as a lawyer. I need to do that by knowing to hold their hands in such a manner that I give strength and embolden them in the process for the long haul the justice system is going to take to be able to render them justice. And I think that is the most challenging part, to be able to keep victims tolerant with this impunity that exists in most of our countries, and to see that justice is so far away and so difficult to be able to reach out to. Well, the rights regime, in spite of all the obstacles that we have faced, right from the year 1948, when we have had our Universal Declaration of Human Rights, these last 70 years have been 70 years when we always thought there was no hope. And there was always hope. And that hope was from co-activists, from your own national boundaries, from across our national boundaries, from across different thematic engagements that we were engaged. And it was this alliance building and strength within and outside our countries which was what inspired us. The inspiration that we draw is from people who have sacrifice their lives. The inspiration that I draw are from people who are in prisons today, who are not here as part of this World Summit that we are attending, but yet are those who have paid a price. I don't get inspired by only Nobel laureates. I don't get inspired by those who have got awards, but I get inspired by those who never got these awards, but who deserve them more, but who are in prisons or who have lost their lives. And I think that inspiration gives us the courage to be able to fight together and ensure that we will be able to tell all these states that their designs will fail and our cooperation and collaboration will only win. Thank you.